Ingalls at pressure-free.com this morning, and I want to welcome anyone who's coming on live this morning to Living Pressure Free with Elle. I'm Elle Ingalls, your host for this little show that I do every day at 10 a.m. Pressure Free is the on-the-go stress management method. It helps you stop stress at its source. It's totally unique in the stress management world. And really, it's not just about stress. It's actually allows you to perform at your best. Hi, Tom Stanley. Thank you so much for joining. Hi, Greg. Nice to see you. So Pressure Free means no matter what pressures come your way, I show you how to stop stress at its source. When you stop stress at its source, at the adrenal glands, your body and your mind are going to work so much more optimally for you. This morning, I had a 2-hour meeting with an amazing leader. And as we were discussing Pressure Free, he was learning about it because he wants to bring it to his team. And it really, the questions he asked were so interesting to me. A lot of questions even about relationships, how Pressure Free helps people with relationships. Hi, Sana. Thank you for joining. And so, how we do our day, how we perform in our day is what Pressure Free is all about. It's not just performance on stage or on the athletic field. It's how we perform our day each and every day. So learning the Pressure Free method is a discipline, but it allows your body and your mind to flourish. And we've been concentrating this week because it's National Suicide Prevention Week. I've been concentrating mostly on the brain and the effects of keeping your brain free of stress hormones. And so my mother-in-law has us subscribe to this magazine called The Week. So it came this week, and I thought this was rather interesting. There's a sportscaster, Ed Cunningham. Some of you may know him. And he's recently just left his job broadcasting football as a color commentary, doing color commentary because he just can't handle the brain damage that's happening to football players. He wants to see a shift. So I think that's kind of interesting, and he mentions that 3 of his former teammates committed suicide: Dave Durson, Andre Waters, and Junior Seau. Gosh, I remember Junior Seau just being such an amazing player. And they suffered from that chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE. So that's a debilitating brain disease. What's interesting is when you compound the release of stress hormones, and every time we trigger fight or flight, we actually kill brain cells. We add to the plaques in our brain. And when I think about a pro athlete, anybody who's, any one of us taking our game to the next level, and the anxiety that we can feel, it makes a profound change on our brain chemistry. It makes a profound change on how we work in our day. Hi, Sean. Thanks for joining. So learning this method can be so incredibly life-changing for the brain. And I want to share just a little bit about that today, and also give you a tool, a brain tool, to help you with anxiety. When we trigger fight or flight, we shut down our outer cortex. We go into the reptilian brain. And so when you think of people who have test anxiety, any sort of anxiety in their jobs, any kind of performance anxiety, every time we trigger, we're shutting down our cortex. We're damaging brain cells. So we do it over and over and over again in our day. It has a compound effect. The other thing I'm always working with my clients on is making little tweaks so we can build a compound effect that changes the trajectory of where we want to go. Whether that's a mental thing we want to do, a physical thing we want to do, but these little tweaks so that where are we a month from now? Where are we a year from now? When we trigger fight or flight, I call the effect in the brain stress sludge. Your brain is not working optimally for you. When you can begin to clear it out, when you can begin to have your brain working for you. By the way, the brain is so rejuvenating all of the time. Just the scaffolding of your neurons alone replaces every 4 to 10 seconds. So the brain is constantly rejuvenating. But if we keep hitting it with stress hormones, it doesn't. So when you can start to have your brain really work for you, I like to call it helping people get into their genius zone. So a tool that I have for that is something I call the dial. And that's the tool I want to share with you today. I usually share it pretty much more advanced into my course, but I think it's really helpful for anyone experiencing anxiety, depression. We have a ceiling on our emotions, and if you're triggering stress hormones over and over again, the ceiling lowers. We're feeling less and less good. So this is to break through that glass ceiling of your emotions, or what one psychiatrist calls the upper limit problem. Dr. Gay Hendricks named this the upper limit problem, and I like to also call it glass ceilings because I like to shatter them so that you start to live in your true genius zone. So first of all, it's becoming aware and not triggering stress hormones in any situation. Most of the time we do it for self-talk when it comes to the brain. So we'll start talking negatively, or we'll have something happen that will make us start to talk negatively. So when you start to see yourself doing that, especially after something really great has just happened, we'll trigger down on purpose. I want you to imagine a dial right here on the breastbone of your life. These are my settings. You can put any settings you want. Mine are very crappy, crappy, okay, good, great, genius zone. So those are the settings of my dial, and I should tilt this down just a little bit so you can see this. So I'll sit up taller. Here's my dial. Very crappy, crappy, okay, good, great, genius zone. So most of the time the dial flutters okay to good for us. But when something really amazing happens, we trigger way over to genius zone, great. We will purposefully trigger stress hormones. We'll pick and fight with someone, we'll argue, we will complain, and we'll trigger way down so we don't feel so good anymore. And then it's hard to get back to okay to good. We're kind of more like okay to crappy. And that's how we'll do the rest of our day, because these stress hormones affect, for a male, if you're a man watching this, it takes up to 9 hours for your body to dissipate these stress hormones out. For a woman, it's up to 24. So you stay in this more negative pattern for the rest of your day. So what I like to encourage oh, thank you, Dale. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on. So this dial, what I do is I take two hands. I have to use two hands to turn it. And I turn it so that I'm giving myself permission to feel great, to live in my genius zone. So that the dial's now set great to genius zone instead of okay to good. So now it's gonna really take something pretty serious to get all the way over into very crappy. So I just kept kind of turning this dial over the last 7 years to start truly living in my genius zone. What does that mean for you when I say that? Living in your genius zone. What are you experiencing when you're truly living in your genius zone? I can only imagine. I can only imagine what it really means for you to break through that glass ceiling. What about for two people together? Dale, you have this beautiful picture of you and your wife, who I love so much. A relationship of two people. You know, we have good times and bad times. We roller coaster in our relationships. What if you make a conscious decision to turn the dial when it starts to go down a little bit, and you make the trough a little less steep? What is that for your relationship? So turning this dial is giving yourself permission. I, as your coach, can want it for you so much, but only you can turn it. To say, you know what? No, I'm going to have an amazing day today. That's my son's, on his dial, he has amazing in all kinds of ways. Amazing. So what does it mean for you to say, no, you know what? I deserve to have an amazing day today. No matter what hits me, I'm going to stay where I can do the best work I can, where I can live in my genius zone. So you're going to release that stress sludge. You're not going to release hormones so much so that your brain can really, truly work for you. So I just send prayers to the families of all these people who have lost people to suicide. I mean, it's so, for those of us left after it happens, it's just so disheartening, and you feel so helpless. And so my heart goes out to anyone who has been in that position. I have very dear friends who've lost their family members. I lost friends. And so it's interesting. And I'd like to say that, you know, I read recently, actually it was a Twitter post, a Twitter friend of mine is called Unsuicide. That's his Twitter name. And he said that he, for a long time, was smoking cigarettes to cause a slow death. But then he actually attempted a few times. And so I think releasing stress hormones is creating, we're all, you know, on this path together, let's face it. But also we accelerate the end of our lives when we trigger stress hormones. We accelerate the end of our lives. I love to share that when you can just catch yourself, you just created a little window of quality time, but you just added that quality time onto the end of your life too. Quality life, where the body and mind are working for you, where you don't have dementia and Alzheimer's and cancer and chronic disease. All chronic disease is caused by these releases of stress hormones. If you can get a handle on that, everything can change. So I'm wishing you a fabulous, pressure-free day and a prayerful day today, just for people who have lost the people in their past due to taking their own lives. And I really bless them. So I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.